Hi, for my AR video, I wanted to show you the images that I traced and reinterpreted. You might be asking yourself why I am showing you this, and I have an explanation for that. Over the 2 months that we've been working on this subject, there have been a variety of different assignments that we had to complete, and even though I wasn't able to submit them on time, I do think that I learned a lot from these keystones. Our first keystone that we worked on was the art chart. This project was similar to one of the previous charts, apart from a few major components. For this chart, we had to pick out an image from a big selection that was given to us. After we had chosen our image, we had to decipher it and analyze it and find out what exactly was going on in the image. And the image that I had chosen was the Battle of Ticonderoga. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Anyway, the Battle of Ticonderoga, I think that's right, was the famous battle between the French and the British. Anyway, a quick version of the story behind it is that French people had abandoned this land in the past and now wanted to reacquire it. And the British wanted it so they could, have more land to conquer. And in the image, it shows mostly British soldiers in battle against the French. And even though battle was happening on Aboriginal land, there were no Aboriginal features in the image whatsoever. So in the chart that we had to fill out, I had to explain it because it asks you about the European perspective and the Aboriginal perspective. But since there were no Aboriginal people or features at all in the image, I had to mainly focus on the European perspectives, since that's all I could really put my thought into. The second keystone was the same image, but traced, and sorry about the people in the video, but it was retraced for the Battle of Ticonderoga. But since, like I said before, there were no Aboriginal people in it, I thought I could add them in and give the photo a new perspective. In the image that I started with was the battle scene, and no other big meaning. It was just the fight between these two big colonizing groups, right? And so I wanted to add the Aboriginal perspective, and so I added in an Aboriginal person being shot between the crossfire, and them kind of making it seem like they did nothing wrong, what happened, and I thought that it made it seem as if they were getting caught in the middle of it and being taken control of and taken over, which is kind of what happened in the actual story. And I really thought that gave the First Peoples perspective with the image. It wasn't just so much focused on the Europeans, but it was also focused on the innocence of the First Peoples being killed by the Europeans' plain greed and hate. Throughout all of these projects, I still see the main ideology of the Europeans would do this, of why they would do this, and it still relates to the 3 Gs, the gold. The Europeans wanted more money, so they traded with the First Peoples and tried to make money out of that. Glory. Europeans were still fighting over land, but they both wanted without even realizing that they're killing hundreds and hundreds of people who did nothing. And God. Even when they came to new lands, the Europeans would still constantly try to spread the message of God. We looked at this one image of a man who was presenting the cross to people, and we deciphered that in class. And even though that this is all big factors between the European, I still think that another big G that comes to mind when I think of the Europeans is immediately it's always just the greed. All of the Europeans that they wanted back in this time was greed. They wanted power, money. They wouldn't stop for anything else, even if it's a little less. And I still think that there's lots and lots of pure greed in the story. And I really think that all the Europeans wanted was power.